Okay, welcome back to another class, certification class of our Peaceful Solution course in the Parenting Manual. We are going to hopefully conclude lesson 11 today, and I wanted to open with something from page G in the note to the parent. So if we can put up that slide. As parents, and this is to encourage and instruct the parents and ourselves to recognize what it is the goal of this program. As parents, we can no longer afford to have double standards. The time to change and make the necessary improvements to our lives is now, while we still can. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Everyone is capable of learning. Remember, our parents did the best that they knew at that time in raising us. No matter what we were taught, we can make positive changes in our lives. It is a fact that we constantly role model positive and negative behavior. There is no middle ground. We have to learn to be what we want our children to become. And now this is the important part I want to emphasize. This is what you want to get over to the parents the most. We have to learn to be what we want our children to become. If we want them to have moral character and treat themselves and others with respect, we must role model these same behaviors for them. All right, so that's from the Parenting Manual, page G. And I want you to keep that in mind as we go forward today in our lesson. We are going to continue. We're starting in Procedure 5 on LP 11B, right, with Procedure 5. And I read this to you last week. And there's some questions in here. So I solicited answers from our class, far and wide, and wanted to go over these answers so we, can get that interaction and share the feedback with everyone. So in Procedure 5, it says, talk about the importance of friends and role models to our young adults. What are some concerns parents might have about their children's friends? Okay, so here were some answers. If we can put up that slide. When I asked what are some concerns parents might have about their children's friends, people said, and a lot of people gave the same answers, so I didn't have too many answers, but it's because people gave pretty much similar answers. Their friends might hold different values than you have taught them, and will they encourage them to break your rules or keep your rules? Okay, so these are things parents might be wondering about their children's friends. What are their friends' parents like? And I thought this was a really great one. Do they have positive moral values? Do they set rules and hold their children to those rules? So you want to not only know about your children's friends, but what are their friends learning from their parents, right? So that's an important one. And then the second one follows similarly. Do their friends have siblings? What is their character like, right? Because those are the examples they have right in their homes. Will their friends encourage them to make immoral or moral choices, right? We all would wonder that. And will they be a positive influence, encouraging them to be respectful and caring, or a negative influence, exposing them to things that are off limits in your own home? Okay, so these are standards and concerns that parents might have. And y'all really did great in participating, so I appreciate all the answers, and even some were coming in as I was getting here, so if I don't give your answer, please forgive me, but I try to get them in. Okay, so the second question in Procedure 5 says, what are some of the role models children have in our society today, and are they positive or negative? And so we have a slide for that too. Here were the answers that people gave. And these are, there's a lot to think about here. So influencers on social media, like YouTubers and Facebook. Now, the answer said these are mostly negative, and this was the reason given, because they focus mainly on outward looks, luxury, and lavish lifestyles that are actually fake and unbeneficial in real society, right? Who cares if you can make elephant toothpaste? Anybody know what elephant toothpaste is? It's like a science project, okay? But you put this ingredient and that ingredient, and it's like a foaming thing, and it just comes out, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. Okay, well, how is that going to benefit you in your future life? How is that going to help you with your character, right? These things can take time away from our children's learning and growing and being productive and learning how to be productive members of society. Okay, and that's just one little example that came to my mind. But this is a real thing, influencers. That's what they call them nowadays. And so these people know that they actually influence other people by what they put out on social media. And they get paid to do what they do, actually. They make money doing it, and that's why they do it, right? Not because they really want to be a positive influence in somebody's life. So they're doing it for a different reason. But they're putting ideas in our minds or in our children's minds. Okay, the second one was entertainers from Hollywood. That includes a lot, but you can sum it up into singers and actors and actresses, basically. And the person said that this was negative because it's not portraying reality also, but fantasy. And sadly, they oftentimes are suffering a bad reality themselves, right? You might see in the news, this singer overdosed, this actress has this STD, this couple got divorced, they were, from Hollywood. I mean, there's all these devastating things taking place in their lives, but yet they're portrayed to be looked up to, okay? Political leaders is the next answer we had, and some said like the president or the first lady, and they said they could be positive or negative, okay? It just depends on their character and how they use their position. Are they being a true public servant? Is their goal to build up their community, build up their country, make a positive influence in the world, right? You have to look at the leaders, whether they're politicians or some other kind of leaders. We know that even the author of this book is a leader, right? And this program, and I would say he's a positive. He's one of the examples of a positive leader because his goal is to spread character education, building the hearts and the minds to make choices that are positive on a regular daily basis with all interactions with all humanity. So you can have positive or negative, but as you can see, the trend is going to be it depends on their character. The next was teachers, right? And you all are studying to be teachers of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. And, any teacher could be positive or negative in their influence. Their character, I think we just saw, there was just an example in the news of a woman who she was hurling racist comments at a police officer. But she's a teacher. Okay, she's a teacher, and the comment that was made was, well, this is what's being taught to our children. This woman, she was recording the police officer saying he was doing something wrong when he was pulling her over for a traffic violation, but she was calling him all kinds of terrible names and not giving him the respect of his position or listening to what he was pulling her over for, even because she was mad and very disrespectful. But yet she was a teacher. Okay, so wouldn't you like to have her teaching your children, right? She handled herself not very well. The next answer was sports figures, and the answer was given that these are negative. And I thought about this for a while, and while exercise is beneficial, right? Star athletes encourage competition and being better than others. And what do these people stand for? You have to look at the individuals. What are they standing for? What are their life goals? What is their character? It's all going to go back to character. Every time you look at an example of anyone, okay? We have to teach our children that, to look at the character of the person, not the clothes they wear or the words they say or how they sing, because they might turn around and steal from you. You don't know because that you're not seeing their character. You're just seeing them put on an act of some sort. The next answer we had was elders. The example is grandparents, and they also can be positive or negative, right? As well as parents. And what I just read to you here from the page G in the parenting manual shows that, if we have negative character traits as parents, it's our job to work on those and root them out of our lives, because our children are watching us and getting the example from us. So, they will be influenced by your negative character traits. And we also know from this class that we as the parents are the biggest influence in their children's lives. So, these are some of the role models that you all answered are in society today who have positive and negative effects, okay? Now let's go over to page 84 and 85 in our manuals. And we're going to look at tips 5 and 6, where we left off from last week. Okay, and it says, be aware of who he emulates and who his friends are. And the word emulate, if we could put that definition up there, it means to strive to equal or excel. To imitate. And in the Peaceful Solution, there are places where it does show that the word emulate means imitate. And to equal or approach equality with. So in my mind, like if these definitions led me to think of competition too, in a way. Okay, are they striving to equal or excel someone? Now, if you're striving to equal someone who has a positive character, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think I could ever be better than someone who taught me, though. I'd want to be like them, and that would be enough for me, right? But I wouldn't strive to be above them, but I would go do what it takes to be like them, because they have that positive character and they're being that example to me and showing me what's beneficial in life. So continuing reading here, it says, know who he is with, your child, and what he is doing. If his choice in role models is questionable, talk to him and actively listen. Oh, remember, actively listen. We hit on that hard last week, right? Actively listen, the listening skills. This is the most important thing for our youth, especially young adults. The older they get, the more you need to listen to them, not the less, okay? And when they're really little, it's easy to listen to them because they don't say a lot of words, and they're very adorable, and they're learning how to say words, and so it's very easy to listen to them, right? But as they get older and they have a lot more to say, and it might not always be what you want to hear, it gets a little harder. But we have to practice actively listening. You have to tell your parents that you're guiding in this course to make sure they got their listening ears on. Okay, I like to do that with my little children students. Let's turn our ears on, right? Well, as parents, we have to make sure those ears are always on. And continuing here, it says, so actively listen to his reasoning as to why he chose this person as a role model. Okay, point out your concerns, but first you got to listen. You don't talk first. Don't say, I don't think that's a great role model for you. No, you shouldn't. Why do you have them as a role model? Then give them the time to speak. Point out your concerns and that you desire to see him make a better choice. Okay, so you let them speak and then you give your concerns. Do not yell, threaten, or accuse. I highlighted that because, remaining calm when you're speaking with children is very important, and young adults especially, because you will just escalate the situation. And that is something that we need to get over to the parents. Yelling never works. Did it work for them when they were the child in their parents' homes? Ask them that. Did it work for them? Did they like it when their parents were yelling at them? And what does the child perceive as yelling? You might just think you're talking loud, and you don't think it's yelling. But if they're telling you you're yelling, change your tone. Try a different tone with them. Ask them what tone they prefer. That's more comfortable to listen to, and you might get a better reception in what you're saying too. So doing so will only alienate them if you yell at them or accuse them, and it could very well drive them further away from you, which is the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, right? We're trying to get parents and children together. Okay, so on the topic of questionable friends, now if they have questionable friends, the same rules apply. So role models, friends, okay, similar situation here. Use your self-control to discuss your concerns and listen with an understanding heart to their perspective, okay? And I put down, you can write definition of self-control. I underlined self-control there, and it's on page 37 in the parenting manual. So we're not going to go there, but you can look back at that definition. It's there. Okay, page 37 gives the definition for self-control. And also, I wanted to bring to remembrance the character unit, page 70. If we can see that on the screen, you can see, remember what it looked like in the book? Pure power. And I'm going to read a quote from that. And it says, having friends is great, but friends can also influence each other in negative ways. Here's the problem. If your friends accentuate the negative and not the positive traits in their character and encourage you to do the same, they're influencing you in a negative way. This is called negative peer pressure. And this is something that, as the parent, is what you want to convey to the child, okay? Why is it bad to have this negative influence, okay? And there's examples here that it gives on page 70 of the character unit. So you can use that as a tool. You can give that tool to the parents, okay? Find activities that could allow him to make new friends. Okay, so if you want to shift them, I mean, friends are important, right? It's very important for our young people to have friends, but if the friendship is concerning, help them have ways to make new friends. Most of all, teach them what true friendship is. And I wrote down acceptance, chapter 4, because that chapter in the acceptance unit of the Peaceful Solution is all about friendships, how to make friends, what to do if your friendships aren't going well, how to communicate in a friendship. Everything that a friendship should be based on, you can find in that chapter 4 of the acceptance unit. Use real-life examples of people who were negatively influenced by friends and the consequences to their lives. And I'm sure in today's society, if you don't have any in your own personal life, which I kind of doubt that everybody probably has, at least one example they could find from their life or family members or somebody's to give their child an example. This is what takes place, when someone negatively influences another person. But you can get it in the news too. You can just look it up and you will find story upon story. And that's why I didn't bring any tonight, because there's too many, okay, sadly. So it's very important, though, and I want to stress that, it's listening and then expressing yourself also, and making sure you give equally to them, because they're going to be more willing to do what you are asking them if you can listen to their side of it, and you can show understanding and not dismiss their feelings or what's going on with them, why they're struggling in a friendship or having a certain role model, okay? So now let's go to point 6. Do you know someone who could be a positive role model to your child? You can speak up. Okay, so I put down here, I noted character unit, page 71. We were just on page 70. And if you can put that on the screen for us, remember what this page looks like? Mirror, mirror. Okay, and this talks about the positive role models. And I'm going to read from this. There's 2 points here to look for in a positive role model. 1, make sure he or she is a moral person. Okay, this is your first priority. This means you need to look beyond personality. Keep in mind someone can appear to be a great person but have a negative, immoral character. A moral role model must consistently display positive moral character traits. Okay, and that's how you know they're a positive role model. Consistently displaying those positive character traits, which we learned about earlier in this class, and we'll talk about a little bit more later. Also, point 2, a positive role model will motivate you to build a moral character. In other words, a positive role model will encourage you to make right choices. A right choice, and this is the foundation of respect right here, okay? This is something that you should have as a plaque in your house. If you've got any sayings in your house, this is a foundational one for the peaceful solution. A right choice is one where respect is shown in your life and also to the lives of others, ensuring no one is treated unfairly or harmed. Okay? A right choice does not hurt you, yourself, others, or the environment. I think I said you and yourself. Okay, but you know what I mean. So those are the criteria for a positive role model, that when you're looking for those for your children. You know, there's a lot of them out there, and you can encourage your children to spend time with them if it's possible. And I know in the community I live in, there's a lot of positive role models that I've found, in working with different people in the community, that I would want my children around, and I encourage them to be around and learning from. And here it says, find out if they can speak with your child or mentor them even. So if they can have a working relationship with them in some way, and get to know them and understand what it takes to have success in life, right? Take him to see a motivational speaker, have a positive moral character, who has positive moral character or has overcome diversity to have a successful life. And there's a lot of that. If you use the internet for anything, there is a lot of success stories out there where people took a hardship in their life and they turned it into a blessing for others. Maybe they lost a loved one in an accident or something, or they lost limbs or the ability to do something. But whatever was their hindrance, they made it a strength, and they chose to help others instead of feel sorry for themselves, right? So there's a lot of those instances out there. Now, I asked our class, based off our Procedure 5, what are some interventions to help our young people make better choices? Okay, so here's answers, and we got a lot of answers on this. And I'm just going to read some of these to you, okay? And you should be able to see them. I've got a couple pages. Let's see. Oh yeah, that's not it. I'm getting ahead of myself. Here it is. Okay. Model what you want your child or your children to do yourself. First, number one thing we should think of, right? In other words, and this is like what I read in the beginning, set the right example through your own actions. Uphold your own house rules as well as all moral rules known in society. Being honest and respectful and responsible for our actions. Okay, so model it yourself. That's the number one thing we can do to help our young people and see what better choices they can make. 2, acknowledge and reward right choices that they make and show appreciation for them. And when they do great things, as I know I've said in this class before, show them you're very pleased with them. I mean, it doesn't even have to be some physical object or reward they get. Just knowing that you are pleased with the work they did or what they did or how they did it is really great. You tell them, you're just doing so great. I love you. Hearing those words to a young person is so vital in these time period where we're living in. They need to hear those words and to know how much their parents care, okay? Always know where they are. Here's another answer, okay? Who they are with, or supervise them yourself with their friends, or have other trusted adults with them looking out for them. A lot of older people are actually enjoyable to be around, so your young people don't mind them, and they like being with them. And, make sure they are people you trust so that when you're not there, you know that they're being led the right way, though. That's very important. Seek counsel for them. Okay, this is if you need some help from the outside. Seek some counsel for them and yourself if they're having a hard time talking to you. And sometimes they don't know how to talk to their parents, right? The children don't know how. but you can help them find their voice through another person they trust who can help the two of you learn to communicate together. Another one is share the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program with them. Learn it together, okay? The parents going through this, this manual, we have the intermediate series, and we have the Building Moral Excellence, and we have all the other younger grades. So whatever age the children are, the parents can be obtaining those lessons and going over them with their children at home and showing they're all working on improving character. Guide them to be involved in helping in their community and expose them to new environments and people and new experiences. And because this is where they'll start finding out what they like to do and how helping others, how it feels. It's a really great feeling when you can serve others and you can help in your community. So, make ways for them to have these opportunities. Always supervise though, right? And then show interest in their friends and their friends' parents. Keep that open communication. When you show your child you're so interested in them and what their friends are doing, and that's a big deal to your children. Like, that shows, wow, they've got time for me. Like, we tend to get busy as adults, right? There's a lot of responsibility on adults in society today. There's just sometimes a huge weight, but the weight can be lifted through interaction in the family and having positive interactions and communication. And lastly, spend, and I put it in caps, quality time with your children. Take an active role in their life and listen to them daily. Help them feel wanted and accepted, so they will learn they have value. Help them feel loved, really, is the bottom line. Okay, so those are some great answers we had from the audience. And that takes us to the end of Procedure 5, and I wanted to go to Procedure 6, back on LP 11B, okay? It says, discuss tips 7 through 9 on page 85. Stress that young adults can also benefit from having specific rules posted on the wall. It takes some of the pressure from having to give constant reminders and helps the young adult become more responsible. Emphasize the importance of praising children for putting forth effort. All right, so back on page 85, point number 7, and that's where you would put that procedure number 6. Have rules for your teens too. Do you think that your teen is too old to have rules posted on the walls? Visual reminders help. It stops you from having to remind and helps him develop responsibility. And who likes to be hurt every time? Wash your hands when you come in the house. Did you wash your hands? Did you wash your hands? If there's a sign up there, please wash your hands. Oh yeah, they're going to see it and they're going to do it, and it's going to become a habit. And that's a much more peaceful way to deal, with a rule you want followed. If they rebel against the rules, remember that along with the rules come consequences and rewards. Rewards and consequences can motivate a stubborn adolescent to comply with the rules. See the chapter on rewards for more guidelines. Be serious about helping your young adult follow the rules. Develop an attitude of zero tolerance if the rules are broken. Voice your concerns and allow your child to voice theirs, but always in a respectful setting. Give consequences as applicable. And to close out here, because I am out of time, I want to share with you some rules that were given to young people, because I asked our young people the question, were you ever given any rules that you learned later helped you in life? Please tell the rule and elaborate on its benefit. Okay, so here's what some of our audience said. Keep your opinions to yourself. It might hurt someone if you say whatever you think about them unless it's positive, like a compliment. But if it's just a random thought about someone, how they look, their age, or anything that could be an insecurity, keep it to yourself. This helped them, okay, develop self-control first in their words and then even in their thoughts. And they stopped thinking anything that might have been negative that they wouldn't have wanted to say. But that was a rule that their parents taught them, okay? Okay, the second one is no playing with matches out of boredom or curiosity. You might think it's fun to do so, but One person did, and they set their yard on fire. And, you know, it could lead to even worse things like setting your house on fire or losing a life, you know, a loved one's life or even animals. So, you know, a rule like that, very important. The next one, you must be with a trusted adult. This will help you stay out of trouble, continue being guided carefully, and also protected from dangerous situations. And another person said, don't play or run with knives, scissors, or any sharp objects. You could get hurt or you could hurt someone else. Practice politeness was another one. And this was like holding the door open for someone, or even just saying hello, or carrying something for an elderly person, helping another person, because think of how, you know, you will feel in the future when you need help, or if no one ever said hi to you, how would you feel? You know, it's a great rule to practice. And these rules aren't always the ones that we might post, and some we might, but they're great rules to put in a child's mind because it's teaching them how to have that moral character. Okay, and then we had one more page of them. Be willing to help. I'm only gonna have time to read what they were. Be willing to help. And if you wouldn't say it to their face, don't say it behind their back, right? And this is teaching like not to gossip and that it can really hurt someone if you know, say mean things. So don't say mean things, and that self-control again is there. Get to know people before you put trust in them, and follow the rules even if you don't agree with them. And I thought this one was interesting because she said, you will know what's expected of you, and it teaches you humility. In the future, you won't always be able to give your opinions on instructions you don't like. So this helps you evaluate your own thoughts and if they are positive or negative. All right, so I want everyone, please give a hand to everyone who volunteered their answers tonight. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brittany for the rest of our class.
All right, everyone, we're going to continue right off where pick up right where Jennifer left off on point number 8. And it says, be creative when giving out consequences. This is especially true for older children. For example, behavioral contracts can be very effective in changing specific behaviors. Let your young adult know what you expect from him and what you can do to help him reach his goal. Put your agreement in writing, then both of you sign it. Encourage him to do his part while you do yours to bring about the desired results. And remember, in lesson 10, we went over consequences and rewards. They really do work. So now we're layering on the aspect of take a reward and a consequence and apply it to a teenager. Apply it to a young adult. Okay, you can't really strap a teenager in their car seat and they can't run away. You can't really tell them to go somewhere and then you put them there and you know that they're going to stay there. So sometimes grounding is the only consequence that you can go with. Or if they have a car, they can't drive their car. Be creative with it. If they usually had a curfew of being out till 11, cut it back to 10, cut it back to 9. Over the last year, we've been in a pandemic where our curfew in most places has been 7 to 8 p.m. So 9 and 10 o'clock is an extreme leisure time from what we've had across the globe over the last year. But really be creative and consider the fact that a lot of the times, by the time they've reached teenagehood and the time they've made an adult, you don't always need a consequence. Sometimes they just need a listening ear. And so you want to convey that to your parents. That yes, they need to recognize that there's a consequence for their choice, but they also need to be aware that there's an alternative way to do the same thing that they want. Or if they have an alternative or a goal that they want to reach, they might even not understand what a goal is. They might not even have a visual idea of what they want. They know, a broad scope of what they would like to see. They know what all their friends are wanting to do or what the people who are influencing them are doing. But individually, they might not know what their goals are. And I have a reference here for the acceptance unit, page 116. And I liken this to where it says to help them reach their goal. Okay, where you help them reach their goal. And in the acceptance unit on page 116, it says be realistic. Now that you know the importance of setting goals that are positive, the next step is to be realistic about the goals that you set. Goals that are realistic are well planned. Goals that are unrealistic are poorly planned or not planned at all. Okay, and some examples of being realistic with your goals is how long will it take you to accomplish what you want to do? If it's something that you want to do and it's going to take you all summer to accomplish or to save up to get it, then don't plan to do it in the middle of the summer with your friends, because you know financially you are not going to have the money saved for it. So you're setting yourself up to fail if that's a goal that you set for yourself. Is this something that you can accomplish by yourself, or will you need the assistance from others? Being realistic, having them plan out their ideas. Will you need additional information to pursue your goal? What sacrifices will you have to make to get your goal? And recognizing that sometimes to get to something that we want, we're going to have to sacrifice a little of something else. And if they learn that when they're young, it makes it a lot easier to deal with that reality when you become an adult. And then will you need money to accomplish your goal? Again, if you're wanting to do something that's going to take more money than you have on hand, you're going to have to plan for that. You're going to have to plan for saving it. You're going to have to plan, what can I do, or what goal can I set for myself that doesn't cost anything? That way it's more realistic that I can do right now, and I can do it, just what I have on hand. And then it says here to write a contract with them. And that's where you're really having that open dialogue, which I think was point 4. Yes, on point 4 is listen more than you talk. Having that open ear and listening to what they want to do. Because if you ask them what they don't like, they'll tell you all day long the things that they don't like. But then, challenge them. What do you want to do? And they might have the most unrealistic goals that is not possible to achieve in the next 10 years, but help them break it down. Okay, what's something that we can do to get to that goal? What's 10 steps that we can do to get to that final one? And break it down to them so they can slowly get to their final goal. All right, so we're going to go into point number 9. Regardless of how old you are, a little praise can go a long way. Praise your adolescent's effort to make changes. Never overlook or ignore his attempts to improve his behavior. Encourage rather than criticize, motivate rather than devalue, uplift rather than disregard. Choose your words wisely so that he would value developing a positive moral character. And again, that goes back in the way that we correct, the way that we deal out the consequences. Sometimes the way that things are given or the way that they are worded, it can make it seem like it's a drudgery to do the right thing. And you never have any fun when you have to keep all of these darn rules. That's the mindset that it can be if we're not careful in the way that we present the situation, or the way that we present the rules, or the way that we remind, and the way that we guide and that we direct. So as parents, and as we're teaching this to parents, have them keep that in their mind, to be aware of the way that you present it. And then when it says to make sure that we're praising them instead of disregarding what they do. When you walk into a room, if you've ever been a parent, you're coming home from a long day of work and you've given your children a list of chores to do, and you walk in the house and the first thing you see is the top 2 things that were the most important on the list that they never got to. What's the first thing that you're going to say to your child? Because if the first thing you say is pointing out the things that they didn't get around to, or how you notice all the things they didn't do, the first thing they're going to say, well, next time I might as well not even try, because I did 7 things on that list and you only seen the 2 that I never got to. So think of how, it disregards what they've done so far. And then, coming from the teen or the young adult who might still live at home with their parent, keeping that mindset that the parent just went through a really hard day at work too. So it takes that compromising and that understanding, but coming from a parent's perspective is always putting forth the extra effort. And like Jennifer said, as parents, we have to role model the behavior we want our child to have, or we want our teen to have, or our young adult to have. We have to display that behavior towards them. And if we're encouraging them and we're pointing out the things that we see that they do, they're going to reflect that back to us. And they're going to start seeing the things that we kept our word on instead of the many ways that we broke our word when dealing with them. Okay, it says, you might find yourself learning some things from him about your own positive character development. Value his input and respect his ideas. And again, that goes with having that inner dialogue. And remember, if we're not giving the time for the little things, or their little, goals, or the little things that they're intrigued by or they're interested in, or when you're in a rush and you just don't have time to take 2 seconds to hear what they're saying at that one moment. When they have a major decision in their life, they're not going to come to you as a parent because you didn't have time for the little things. They're not going to trust you with the big things because they don't know either how you're going to react or they don't trust that you're going to have their best interest at heart because you didn't have it when it was the little things. So it's so important to, press this on our parents' minds and to bring it into the forefront of their minds. All right, so that concludes procedure 6. So we're going to flip over to the lesson plan and go into procedure 7. And procedure 7 is on lesson plan 11, page 11B. It says activity number 1. Have students form groups. Give each group an activity cutout. Instruct them to brainstorm some creative ways to deal with the situation and help young adults to make a better choice. Okay, so we're going to just flip the page on lesson plan 11, page 11D. And this is the cutouts for the activity. And they give us 5 different ones here. Now, if you were in a group setting and you had a small class that you could do this, you would divide them into 5 groups and you would have them branch off and go over this. Another thing you could do if you had a one-on-one class or a smaller class is have this as take homework. If you have a class once a week, have them go over these scenarios, talk with their child at home, their teen, their young adult that they might have there, and make it an in-house activity. Where you could say, what are some ways that you think, if you're struggling with any of these, what would help you? What do you think? Talk with your friends, the parents who have, talk with your friends, talk with your parents. Make it an interesting activity that you can grow in your knowledge and you can see that, I never would have thought about it this way. I never looked at it that way. All right, but one of them that they give us here, and I'm just going to read through them, is they disrespect authority, whether it be a parent, a guidance counselors, or teachers, disregards their curfew, disrespectful when they are corrected, back-talking, slamming the door to their room, dressing inappropriately, or lazy, sleeps until noon and refuses to do their chores or homework. So these are the different scenarios that we would have. Now, I do have some cross-references if you want to put them in your book here of just some things to keep in mind that we could use when teaching this in class. And one, I think we brought it up last week, but we're going to bring it back. The self-respect on the respect unit, page 26, under self-respect, where it says self-respect is knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you value. Self-respect also involves caring about yourself physically and mentally to promote positive growth and development. And that's something that you would bring into the mind of the parent to talk with their child of. Review the choices that you're making here. Okay, the ultimate goal that we've talked about, that we've set, that me, as a parent, you as the teen, the young adult, we've considered the goals. With you disrespecting your authority, is this going to help you achieve your goal? Is it going to hold you back from the goal that you have to achieve? If you're disregarding your curfew, if you're in a job, or if you have, an extra activity that you want to do in your school, if you can't be home by this certain time, how do I know you're going to show up to where you want to go on the right time? How do I know you're going to be there at the right time? Because the teachers or whoever you go is going to ask your parents, can they be trusted? What do they do? When they're at home, what's their behavior? What's their ultimate goals? Where does this fit into their long-term plan? That has to go back and forth. Another one is in the acceptance unit, page 139. They give us a really nice breakdown. And I think this comes in very important for parents if you do this with your child. Okay, and it says a lack of self-control equals big problems. And it gives a negative influences, leads to bad choices, leads to risk-taking behavior or experimentations. And then they give us 3 examples here, which is premarital sex, drugs, alcohol abuse, and crime, and different things that can result from all of these. You can have depression, you can fall into unwanted pregnancies, date rape. If you're involved in drugs and alcohol abuse, you could get poor grades, you can have overdose, you can fall into disease from the needles or the shared pipes that go around. If you're involved in crime, you could end up having a record. You could get involved in rape, murder, vandalisms, accidents, deaths. Go down the list with your child so that they can see, because a lot of the times when we're teens and we're young adults, we see the world through narrow vision. We don't always see the whole picture, and we don't always see what comes after point B. This is where I am, this is where I want to go, I'm going to get here from there. And I'll deal with what comes next later. But in reality, sometimes later doesn't come. Because sometimes trying something once is the only time you get to try it. And you don't get to come back and do it again. So as the parent, if you have that real conversation with them, and you get serious and you get vulnerable, and as a parent, parents, they feel sometimes that their children feel like they're perfect. And I'll let parents in on a secret. Your children know you're not perfect. And that's what makes you human. And that's what makes you relatable. So it's important to get that across to your parents when you are teaching them, that sometimes the best way to connect with your child is to help them see your mistakes, and then that they can learn from them as well. And then they don't have to do what you did. They don't have to take the long road. They can learn from what you share with them. All right, another reference that I have here is from the responsibility unit on page 25. It's entitled Chew on This, and it says, every action, whether responsible or irresponsible, begins with a thought. That's right, every action begins with a thought. Sometimes even thoughts that you are not aware of. What you think about, whether it's positive or negative, will affect what you believe, value, and ultimately how you behave. In order to become a responsible person with positive character, you must become aware of how your thoughts affect your actions. And again, that's having that inner dialogue conversation with your teen or your young adult. Okay, what are you thinking when you were not, when you disregarded the curfew? Why? What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What were you hoping to accomplish? Get them to talk, and if you can understand the action or the thought behind the action, you can understand that sometimes it's not outright disrespect. Sometimes it's not complete disregard for the rules. It's a symptom of the real problem, or it's an action or a reaction of an inner struggle that's going on that they don't know how to express, and they don't know how to tell you what it is. So having that open discussion really goes a long way. And another one I have here, just for your notes, is the acceptance unit, page 112, where it lists positive goals versus negative goals and how to deal with different situations and the goals that we have set for ourselves. Okay, so that concludes that procedure there, and that really will be more of a very interactive when you're teaching that with your parents and really getting the feedback from them and going back and forth. So we're going to go to procedure number 8 on lesson plan 11, page 11B. And it says, choose volunteers to read tips 10 through 11 on pages 85 to 86. Elaborate on the importance of work ethic and instilling this value into our children. Ask what are some skills a young adult should learn in preparation for adulthood. Emphasize that it is our job to prepare them to become successful adults. And again, I know that puts absolutely no pressure on parents at all. That, the entire type of person that your child becomes and everything that they know is rested on your shoulders. So no pressure, but you're the main source of, where they get their knowledge and their information. So some points that I have here that would help a teen or a young adult prepare for adulthood is, one, it gives us in the procedure here, work ethic. One is giving them tools to be able to handle a confrontation. Because we live in a world where you can prepare to be disrespected. And knowing the proper way or having the proper tools on hand to deal with a confrontation can go a long way. Another one is having self-respect, budgeting, knowing your priorities, value your education, sometimes putting others first, and recognizing that in order to see, the value in yourself, you put the needs of others above your own. Know your limits and be honest with yourself about what your limits are. If you have a history of alcoholics on both sides of your family, then you might want to be careful when you get involved in alcohol. You might want to be mindful of when you go to a party or when it's offered to you. Have that in the forefront of your mind. Another one is accountability, teaching them to be accountable for their actions. And if you make the wrong choice, it's not that it's okay or it's justified, it's that we'll go for the next step. We're not going to dwell on what you did wrong. We're going to acknowledge it, and then we're going to move past it and go and see what we can do to better our lives. All right, so we're going to go back over to page 85. And at the bottom of page 85, we're going to go into point number 10. It says, if you haven't already started instilling within him a positive work ethic, talk to him about the importance of working together as a family. And remember, together we accomplish more. And we went over that, I believe it was in lesson 9, where we talked about the importance of doing chores and doing housework, is that you visually see the growth and you see your value in others. It says working together as a family or as a team to accomplish a goal. Point out how much of a help he is and how much you need his help. Do projects together working side by side. This will give you opportunities to talk and to listen to him, and remember to listen more than you talk. And we can reference this to page 85, point A, where it talks about praise and appreciation goes a long way. So that's page 85, point A. All right, so praise and appreciation go a long way. And I have another reference for you here. When it talks about pointing out how much help he is, from the respect unit, page 5, they give us the steps to showing respect. And it's value, appreciate, respect. And whenever you're giving a rule or you're expecting something from a teen or a young adult, if your values do not line up with their values, they're going to clash every single time. So in order to get them to keep a rule or to respect a rule, they have to first value the rule. They have to appreciate the rule, see the benefits of this, and then they will ultimately grow to respect that rule. But if you don't value or share the same values, you're just going to keep bumping a wall until that one thing is met. All right, so point number 11 says use the spoon technique on page 49 to help diffuse the conflict rather than escalate the situation. This will role model self-control and help him learn to practice it and other positive character traits as well. The spoon technique will also help stop back-talking and could help him with developing better communication skills. So we're going to flip over to page 49 and just refresh our mind as to what this spoon technique is. So page 49, it says the spoon technique. The spoon technique is a great way for the entire family to learn how to take turns speaking. Everyone must agree to abide by the speaking-listening rules. The spoon is passed around, allowing each person the opportunity to speak fully, feeling satisfied he or she has expressed his or her view for the moment. The one holding the spoon is permitted to speak without interruption. The rest of the family agrees to listen with an open mind, valuing what is being said. This method can peacefully resolve conflict and helps to build positive character traits such as patience, respect, and self-control. And remember, the spoon technique is more common used for younger children, but it's more of the visual. If you have a teen and you're having difficulty getting a word in edgewise, you might need the visual. So we recognize, and maybe you get a mic, maybe it's not a spoon, or you use something, just a visual so they can see. And one thing that I've heard recently that people have used is sometimes you can set a timer. And some people go 5 minutes, some people do 10 minutes, but you set down a timer in the middle of the both of you, and you let your teen talk. 10 straight minutes, non-interrupted. Just let them talk. Vent, whatever they're feeling, whatever they're thinking, everything. Then when they're finished, you set the timer again, and then the parent talks for 10 whole minutes. Not interrupted, not back-talking, not anything. And you'll find that you actually get to hear what is being said when that occurs. Because sometimes whenever a teen is talking, they'll say something that's not right. So as the parent, because it's our nurturing nature, we want to correct that one thing so it doesn't implant in their mind the wrong way. But if you let them keep talking, they might end up correcting themselves as the conversation goes. So sometimes if we let it just ride out, you'll see that they have the knowledge they need in their mind. It just took them a second to get there. And then for the parent, a lot of the times when they're trying to share something, they might say something that was a little twisted than what the teen thought. Or maybe it might have been a different situation, or you're mixing two situations. That's not what I said. You're taking yesterday's situation and you're mixing it with this and it's not there. And then the whole point of the conversation never gets met because we're battling as to who said the right form of the sentence or the right situation. So if you try that technique, or give that to your parents as a suggestion, I find that it actually really is helpful to use. All right, so that will conclude Procedure 8. So we'll flip over to the lesson plan and read Procedure 9. So lesson plan 11, page 11B, procedure 9. It says discuss tip 12 on page 86. Explain that many programs advocate trusting young adults to make right choices. Tell students that the only thing they should trust in is their determination as caring parents to teach and guard their children to the best of their ability. Ask volunteers to talk about some of the negative influences and risks young adults fall into. Okay, so we're going to flip back over to page 86. And again, when it talks about the negative influences and the risks that they fall into, you can reference back to the acceptance unit on page 139, where it gave us the breakdown of negative influence lead to bad choices, which leads to the risk-taking behavior. And Jennifer gave us a really nice outline at the beginning of class of negative influencers or negative influences that we can have in our society today. So bring all that to the forefront of your mind as we read point number 12 on page 86. It says, it's okay to check up on your teen. In fact, in today's world with so many negative influences, it is wise to check up on your teen. No parent should ever feel guilty or the need to apologize for checking her teen's room and belongings. Let's face it, children sometimes do things that you would never expect of them. By the time a parent finds out what is going on in the secret life of their son or daughter, it might already be a tragedy. So be on the lookout. Early detection, and I have this highlighted and underlined in my book. Early detection can curtail a serious situation. Sadly, we cannot depend on our teens to tell us what is going on. You can also check with his teachers, guidance counselors, and others close to him to be sure that he is on track. If you discover that your teen is involved in questionable activities or not working up to his full potential, talk to him and put a plan of action in place immediately. And you want to stress that to your parents. Do it immediately. Okay? Do not assume that the problem will take care of itself because it won't. You must take care of it by helping your teen see the value of making positive, healthy choices. And that goes back to value, appreciate, respect. If they don't value making a right choice, if they don't value their life, if they don't value their health, if they don't value the same things that you do, you're not going to get through to them. You can't reach for the top when you've got to start at the bottom. And you've got to, hit one thing at a time and make sure you do that evaluation skill. I've heard that's really being promoted right now amongst reparenting and parenting communities in our society, is taking the value set challenge with your child. You can go online, you can go on Google and download the top 26 values, or you and your teen or young adult can write down your values and then link them and see where you fall in line together. What values do you have that is separate from what they might have? All right, so that concludes procedure 9 there, and we're just going to real quick read so we can finish out here tonight on procedure 11. So lesson plan 11, page 11C, and it says discuss the bottom line on page 86. Encourage students to diligently apply these tips when interacting and communicating with their young adults to see dynamic changes in their behavior. Remind students to set goals with their adolescents and to never give up in assisting them in meeting their goals. Okay, so on page 86, it says the bottom line. Putting these tips in place through communication and interaction will help your teens develop positive moral character. Many of these techniques will work within a short time, and you will start seeing an improvement in your child's behavior and the quality of relationship with him. However, some of the techniques will be more challenging, but do not give up or think that they are ineffective. Keep applying and repeating them diligently. Teach, teach, teach. For example, a one-time conversation on role models and friends or work ethic will not be as valuable as several ongoing conversations. Remember to make yourself physically, emotionally, and spiritually available to your children. Then feel the joy and sense of accomplishment as you see your child grow into morally responsible, productive, caring adults. Okay, and keep that in mind as we go through and just conclude with procedure 12 on lesson plan 11C. It says conclude the lesson by encouraging students to develop a positive moral character one choice at a time, and to patiently, lovingly teach their children regardless of the age and continue to do the same. Okay, so that concludes lesson 11. We made it. I wasn't sure if we were, but we did. All right, so we concluded lesson 11, and lesson 12 just goes through and has songs and verses and poems that you can listen to on the audio CD. Okay, so that will conclude our class for tonight. Next week, we will be having an in-person conference for our instructors and our students at the headquarters in Peaceful Solution in Abilene, Texas. So we will not be live streaming our class. We will come back and meet you on 5/25/2021, same time at 5:30. So no class in person next week. We'll be back with you live stream on 5/25/2021. I thank you. It's been a true privilege and honor to join your class, and I look forward to growing on your journey with you. Thank you.